Hey guys, it's coreross, and today we're going in depth on Ghost Recon Breakpoint. We're going to be looking at map size, we're going to be looking at all the content that's actually hidden behind a paywall, we're also going to be looking at the different classes you can play, and we're going to be looking at different cosmetics, along with different vehicles that you can use as well. So let's start with the map. This is probably the most interesting part for me, and it's kind of how big is the map, what is the map like, and this is our first overhead view that we actually get when they're going into this live stream reveal, and it comes over the Aurora. I really want to say Aurora, but it's actually not. We get a couple of glimpses of how this island is kind of set up. It's got very high mountains with snowy peaks. We get a couple of different views of it, and we kind of get an idea of what the terrain is like, and you know, where the green parts are, where the more desert parts are, where the snowy mountains are, and then we also get some more technical looking shots of the island as well. So for instance, this shows us the 3 different islands that we'll be able to visit. We also have another one there on the right hand side, which I think might be the raid location, as I expect the raid location will not be accessible in free roam, because otherwise you can go there and check it all out, you know, at least have an idea of the layout of it all before you actually go into it with the raid. So I think more than likely the raid location is outside the bounds of the map, or you load up an entirely separate map when you go into it. However, the islands do look really cool. We've got 3 distinct large islands with a lot of little smaller islands all around. Of course, a lot of water. So I would say landmass wise, it's going to be less than Wildlands is my guess. Just because there's so much water between these islands, although until we actually get into it, we can never be sure. But we do get this overhead view. The great thing about this is we can see the population centers. We can actually see what looks to be a city to the south. We have concept art that actually comes from the Ghost Recon webpage, and I think this is what that city will end up looking like. And that gives us kind of an idea of scale as well. We can kind of see roads, we can see rivers. So this gives us a real good scale of how big this area is, although I think it's bigger than we think when we look at this. Now, we can also see that there's large areas that are unpopulated. You can very much see the kind of population centers and areas of this map, whereas there's large areas that just don't appear to have any real kind of major roads or anything like that. There definitely seems to be roads around those areas, but you can tell that there's not really like towns or villages out there. It looks like it's very much empty, which is quite nice. I like that. I like being able to kind of explore about. Then if we move on to biome types, we can also get an idea of sense of scale, but also how these different areas are going to look in game. So to start with, we've got this really nice one of just looking over what's probably a couple of compounds, and we can see this really nice kind of forested area. Looks very gorgeous, quite a lot of cliffs, and even maybe a little harbour down there as well. And that gives us a good sense of scale, but also shows us this really nice green island. But of course, this island is not all green. We have different biomes, which we'll get to shortly. But this is a really nice shot as well, showing us the mountain scale. And we can see how in this shot, we can't really see any roads, any buildings, anything at all. It is really beautiful. And you can see the distance. We can see it looks like a nice sizable island. It's easily comparable probably to something you'd see in Wildlands. This is another great sense of scale, showing us a helicopter flying over a very similar region. And you can see a solar array on the right hand side, and again that kind of a cityscape down there, which looks really gorgeous, very similar to the concept art, and I think is probably that kind of city we've seen to the south, but it could be more of a village from a different location for all I know. Now moving on, we have even more beautiful shots looking over the horizon of this place, and yeah, the scale of this main island looks to be very good. Disappears off into the distance, looks brilliant. I'm looking forward to exploring this world. Again, not many roads, not much in the way of civilization. There is definitely a big compound down there, but again, not that much. Like, there definitely seems to be a lot of beautiful wilderness. Again, here's another great shot. This is them getting into a chopper to take a wounded team member away, and we can see the mountains in the backdrop, and again gives you a really good sense of scale. And this island is big, like it is very big. However, let's move on to the beauty of this world and the different areas that we're going to be exploring. So first up is this meadow. This looks absolutely gorgeous. So of course we have some wildlife, that's great to see, and again the views are just huge. So we're talking a good chunk of scale there, And yeah, it looks like an absolutely gorgeous place to be visiting. This is a nice close-up of the mountains. I can't really see much point in going up there. Of course, we'll probably all fly up there in choppers and bail out and parachute on and check it out. But it looks treacherous. In this game, you can actually slide off things. So I am curious what happens if you're on one of those really, snowy cliffs and you slide. Like, will you actually slide all the way down? However, maybe we'll have some skis or potentially a snowboard. It'd be very cool to make our way down that way. We also have this beautiful beach, so this is gorgeous. Of course, this island was taken over by Skeltech, so they wanted to make it into a paradise. So that's why we see all the kind of futuristic like cities and stuff, and these very nice beaches. It was supposed to be a paradise. Of course, it hasn't worked out like that. We also have this really gorgeous shot of this, basically a forest with what looks like something from Halo in the background. Of course, it's one of those very modern looking buildings. Again, looks gorgeous, really nice, and different variety all over the place. And then here it looks like we're back in Bolivia with a very nice desert and a very kind of arid looking area. And this is the great thing about this game. We're going to be seeing lots of different areas, lots of different types. There's even going to be volcanoes, which I'm not sure if this is the volcano region. It did show up when they said even volcanoes, but I'm not sure if it is or not. It kind of looks more swampy or something like that, but certainly it is gorgeous. We also get this incredible architecture. Again, that very modern looking and very kind of paradise looking place. We can see that this seems to be kind of where there's kind of an oasis almost in this kind of much more arid looking area, but we can start to see the tall trees in the background of what looks like it's probably a forest area. So yeah, it's again gorgeous. I think we can expect this game to look better than Ghost Recon Wildlands, and Ghost Recon Wildlands looks amazing. Again, we've got this modern architecture. Now, don't expect this to be the only architecture you actually find in the game. Some of the natives in the island appear to have been pushed out, so they're kind of still there trying to fight off these modern people trying to come in and take over their island. So I expect you will see a lot of old buildings as well, possibly destroyed. And don't be forgetting that there is civilians on this island, so a lot of the best minds in the world have been brought to this island to work on this drone technology, and I guess have become unwitting allies of these enemies that are now there. So there will be large population areas of civilians who have been moved to this island to work in this paradise, which of course is no longer a paradise. So we'll see a lot of kind of officey buildings, people at work. There's going to be drones in hangars. There are going to be people working, and these people are essentially, innocent, even though they're working on, drones that are killing people. And we've even got kind of like residential areas. It is definitely a gorgeous, gorgeous island. Now this shot here gives us a great sense of scale yet again, with the chopper flying over the island. We can see down, and I would expect if we were on the ground walking, we could probably spend an hour or more actually walking from one side to the other as a character. And in a vehicle, I'd expect it still to take a long time because there's no direct routes there. I can see a lot of winding roads, so it would not be a quick island to get across. Whereas in the helicopter, I expect you could probably cover it in 5-10 minutes, maybe even less than that, depending on how quick that chopper is. Then we have this gorgeous shot here of the solar panel array that we've seen earlier. And again, we can see off in the background the different kind of sizes. I'm not sure if that's a building, the modern kind of spiky one, or if that's just a big ass rock in the background there. But we can see a lot of buildings back there. So again, we might be looking towards that city, perhaps. Now this is another shot here where we can actually see someone driving, and we can see the actual change from that kind of arid desert up into the snowy peaks. And you can see that we're dealing with just a dirt road here. There's not many in the way of roads or paved roads, so I expect there will be a lot of dirt tracks, and these kind of vehicles will be how you get around. I'm not even sure there'll be normal cars in this game. There was in Wildlands, but in this game I'm not so sure that there will be. Now this is a PR shot, so we can't really take this as an in-game scale, but it does show us standing on a volcanic island. Now I think this is the raid location, and I don't think we'll be able to access it in free roam, but you can definitely see the island, and it gives us an idea of how it might look from far away. And yeah, pretty cool. Of course, we haven't seen much of the smaller islands around it, but I would expect, seeing as we can see that there's no snowy peaks on top, they're not nearly as high, and I would say probably quite simple biomes there, probably not as much variety as the main island, and probably, going to have more of the harder or, higher up bad guys to go kill, I would expect. Now let's move away from the beauty and the scale of this island and talk about some of the not so great stuff. So first of all, there will be missions and adventures stuck behind a paywall. So the gold edition is going to include the special operations force pack. Now I expect this is cosmetics and looks pretty cool, looks very nice. We'll also be getting a mission with the gold edition as well, which is Siren's Call, and 2 adventures as well. Now I'm not entirely sure what the difference is between a mission and an adventure. I'm guessing a mission might take place on the island itself, and potentially the adventures might be like the Far Cry things, where you actually go somewhere else and it's kind of a separate map that you do a mission in, but it's not connected to the actual island. And that certainly fits up pretty nice with that adventure there that says Deep State, which I would expect is actually going to be set in America rather than on this island. So I expect that's the case. And the Transcendence adventure looks really cool. And that could be a whole self-contained mission underground or something like that. Now we also have 3 classes early unlock. Now this is interesting because there is classes in the co-op and in multiplayer as well, but I'm not entirely sure what this means because I know they are going to add classes in. So in the single player and the co-op adventure, you're going to be able to pick between classes. So of course there'll be a sniper, there'll probably be like an assault, maybe a grenader or something like that, and then they'll add more in as time goes on. So I'm guessing this is going to be the gold edition, getting early access to those new classes as they are released. Of course they're going to also have their own kind of Ghost War PvP thing with its classes too, so that could be connected in with that too, but not entirely sure. And the gold edition launches 3 days earlier than the actual release date, so you can play it 3 days before everyone else. That sucks, because this is a goddamn co-op game. You're going to be jumping in with friends. Some of your friends might not be able to afford the gold edition, and as such, they're going to have to wait 3 days. And what are you going to do? Play without them, or do you want to play with them? You're going to wait? That sucks. That's a terrible thing. I hate that a lot. Now, there's also the Collector's Edition, which of course gives you the really cool statue, but it also, again, includes other stuff. So it gives the Ultimate Pack. Not entirely sure what this is. It looks like the first one is cosmetics for your character. The second one could be another mission or something. I'm not entirely sure. But the third one is vehicles. So there'll be a bike and kind of a buggy, which will be locked behind a paywall as well. Now, they don't really have special paint jobs or anything, so I'm guessing these actual vehicle types will not be available to the normal player. Of course, there will be other vehicles in there showing up a whole bunch of different stuff in the gameplay reveal, so we will have plenty to choose from, but there will be some stuck behind a paywall. And again, this version also gets the 3 days early access. We can also see that it gets a really cool map as well. I always love those maps, and the artwork on the box is pretty gorgeous too. Now let's go over the gameplay elements that are changing from Wildlands. So to begin with, it looks very similar to Wildlands. It plays very similar. The gunplay even looks to be very, very similar as well, which is kind of the one thing I didn't quite like about Wildlands. The driving also looked to be a little bit still kind of, I don't know what it is about Wildlands. It feels really like loose, or it feels like there's not much gravity or something. There's just something's off with the driving in this game, and it looks like that's carried on to Breakpoint as well. But there's some amazingly good additions. So you actually cut through fences now, finally, which is brilliant. I hated it when I was in Wildlands and I had to find a way into a base, and I'd literally have to go around until I found a door. So being able to make your own entry points is awesome. They've also improved the kind of damage to your character now, so you can actually get like physically wounded to the point of where it actually becomes hard to walk or run or even aim your gun. That's brilliant. Makes it a lot harder to escape as well if you get overwhelmed. I think that's absolutely superb. But you can hide in this game. So of course we haven't seen the active camouflage back. It's only been in one of the DLCs for Wildlands. It hasn't appeared in this game either yet. And the camouflage is quite interesting, being able to just like muddy yourself up. And yeah, I don't think it works too well. He's not that well hidden. I think I'd see him lying there, and I think these well-trained soldiers that are looking for him would also see him lying in the mud. Yeah, so not a big fan of that mud thing. A bit gimmicky for me, But I guess it makes sense when it actually comes to the drones that are chasing you, because they've got thermal vision. Maybe you actually will be able to hide from those drones easier. But going back to the healing, we'll actually be able to set up camps in this version of Ghost Recon, which is really cool. We didn't have that option in Ghost Recon Wildlands, so you're going to be able to rest, you're going to be able to rejuvenate yourself. And I wonder if any kind of survival mechanics might come into that, like you may have to rest every so often or have a sleep. Maybe your character will kind of get, tired on higher difficulties, or maybe you'll need to actually hunt for food on higher difficulties. Maybe add a little bit of survival in there. I could see that working out quite well. You can also pick up and throw away bodies. So when you kill someone, you can actually hide their body. This is just amazing that this wasn't in Wildlands. It's so good to see it in this game and should help the stealth elements of this game, which Wildlands I felt was lacking a little bit. So that's a great addition. We'll also, of course, have a story with cutscenes and everything in this game. We're also going to have a large variety of enemies to go up against. And the gunsmith is returning, apparently improved with more stuff to attach to your gun. And apparently it's also going to make a bigger impact. So that basically, hopefully, you're not just going to throw the best things on it. Maybe you will actually customize it to make a gun that you love. So I'm looking forward to that. And yeah, the gunsmith is also awesome. They also made a big point about cosmetics. They will be a huge point in the game. Of course, there was tons of cosmetic in Wildland at launch, or at least a big decent chunk of them anyway, and they added a lot over time, and paid packs and loot packs. So I expect this game will launch with loot packs with lots of cosmetics. There's also going to be a large selection of vehicles with all kinds of helicopters, all kinds of land vehicles. I don't think there'll be civilian vehicles this time, but there always could be, you never know. But anyway guys, that is the most information I could put together for this brand new Ghost Recon game. Quite a surprising announcement, and also surprising that it's coming out in October as well. Hopefully it doesn't get delayed, and I'm looking forward to playing it later this year. It's also great that it's going to have PvP on launch, and that you'll be able to progress your own character in cooperative, solo, and multiplayer, all with the same character, which I think is great. Looking forward to that. Anyway guys, thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.